Friends, hello! In this video I want to give you an overview of my garden, my greenhouse, what I am growing, what I will be doing in the garden soon, and what videos I will be making for you. Also, under this video in the comments you can leave your questions about growing what I am about to show you. So, I'll start from the very beginning. Here I have corn, from which I make popcorn. It is better to grow corn in rows, as it pollinates better, and also gets better ventilation and sunlight. The ears of corn grow very large, unlike when it is planted too densely. Over there, I have a watering barrel, to which I connect hoses to water these beds, so I don't have to carry heavy watering cans. And I also have a main line for efficient, reliable and convenient drip irrigation for all my bushes and trees that grow further in the garden. I haven't made a video about this drip irrigation yet. I have only made a video about drip irrigation in the greenhouse. If you want to know more details about my watering, write in the comments and I will make a video about it. I also grow roses. I am currently already preparing a video on how to achieve such abundant blooming of roses, as well as what needs to be done in order for them to bloom until the first frosts. Look at this rose. Everything is in flowers. They are blooming beautifully. I also grow grapes. I have a technical variety from which I plan to make wine or juices in the future. And also another variety which I will actually later lift and post. Here I will really stretch the wire, they will weave this arch for me. I have already talked about my garden beds in a video. I will leave a link in the top right corner. I made them from old pallets, they have been serving me for the second year now. Very convenient and sturdy. Here I grow remontant varieties of strawberries. This year I talked about how I fertilize them. And soon the time will come when it needs to be propagated. I have already planted the runners in cups, and soon I will be transplanting them, so make sure not to miss the release of these videos. I will need to fill this bed where there is a lack of strawberries. Here I have broccoli cabbage and regular early cabbage. Here I have lettuce growing, I don't pull it out. You see, it has already started to shoot an arrow on which there will be seeds, because I want to collect the seeds and plant them next year as well, since it is very tasty and very healthy, and the seeds you collect yourself sprout much faster than the store-bought ones. Here in my garden bed, I have mint growing. I just planted it this year so that I can dry it and drink teas in the winter. Here, parsley growing, I have already harvested the first crop. This will be the second crop and I will be able to harvest 2 more crops. The dill has also overgrown, but you can still collect its fragrant and aromatic leaves, which is very useful. I don't pull it out because it is flowering, and I will also collect seeds from it to plant next year, which I recommend you do as well, and it is very beneficial. In this bed I actually have carrots growing. This year I showed how I really planted them in egg cartons. As you can see, it is growing very well, the tops are tall, and the carrots are also forming nicely. And grow big. Here I have sown a bit of the same carrots, but I didn't thin them out, to later show the difference between growing in cardboard trays or just scattered. Also this year I showed you how I grew onions from seeds to get a harvest this year. As you can see, they are already starting to spread. The onions will need to be fertilized one more time before harvesting. It's still green for me. Every year I grew the exhibition variety, but this year I couldn't find the seeds, so I planted a different onion. It will be a bit smaller, but these 2 rows will be enough for the whole winter. Now here I have a greenhouse. Peaches are growing in the greenhouse. As I told you, it is definitely essential to fertilize the peaches. Look, after fertilizing, how they started to spread out and grow upwards. And soon flowers will appear here. There will be a second harvest I will gather at the end of summer, and here is my first harvest. It is almost completely ripe. I also have eggplants growing here. They are already quite large. They will need to be cut. They continue to set fruit. They need to be pollinated. Everything will be fine. Here I have tomatoes growing. Different varieties. I recently released a video on how to take care of them. I showed how to trim the leaves. I explained why the leaves curl. About other useful tips. Cucumbers growing. I harvest regularly. There is no more harvest at the bottom. And all the harvest is already coming up here. As you can see, a lot of cucumbers are forming in the internodes. This is the Kibria variety. Also here you can see they are growing. Every evening I harvest, so today after filming this video, I will also come and pick all the cucumbers, so that overnight all the small ones start growing and become big. Here I have early cabbage. It is already starting to form heads. I also showed exactly what I used to fertilize and what I treated with to get rid of whiteflies in detail. And also last year, I showed how I fight slugs. All these videos are already on my channel. Here I have a compost bin. Every gardener who wants to get big harvests must have one, because it's a kind of incubator for fertilizers. All the trimmed leaves, all the organic leftovers, scraps, I throw them all in here. They decompose here, and next year this compost will go into the garden beds. It will be very nutritious, and in the beds with compost, the plants will grow well. I have a net stretched over one part. I come here when I need to throw something away. I have wheels installed. I throw away what I don't need here. And I close it because on this side I have a small height. My plot is on a slope, and here it is already a tiny bit more higher, actually. Here I actually have this kind of gate valve. They open, and this is how I throw grass with soil here so that it decomposes more effectively, in order to decompose better. This part is also removable, and the net is installed here because there are a lot of birds around. If the compost is not covered properly, they will spread it all over the garden, and we definitely don't need that. And also, compost definitely attracts very large birds. They not only spread the compost around but also damage our plants. I also covered my entire garden with agro textile. As you can see, there are no weeds, and it's just great. I don't spend time fighting weeds, and I can definitely go to the garden at any time, absolutely. Rain, mud, the agro textile is very dense, weeds don't grow, mud doesn't get through, and you can go out at any time. Here I have blackberry growing. Recently I talked about how to prune it and what needs to be done now to get a large yield, not only this year but also next year. I have two distinctive varieties and species growing here. To grow as many shoots as possible, tie them to the wire, and get a very large and bountiful harvest. Here I have zucchini growing. I just harvested them, and new ones are already coming in. After the fertilizing I recently showed, the zucchini are growing every day. From these 4 bushes I harvest about 6 zucchinis every day. Also, I have pumpkins growing further along, both elongated and round. Here I will have watermelons growing. This is my row. Here grows gooseberry. This is honeysuckle. Next I have white currant, red currant, and also black currant. I have already gathered it, and now it needs to be treated. I will be doing that today. This is necessary to combat pests. As you can see, this is curled up foliage. There were ants here, and they have been breeding aphids. I sprayed, and you can already see that the new growth is clean without pests. So it will definitely be necessary to do this. You see, there are no pests. Everything is clean. I will also make a video about this treatment and explain what I use. It will also need to be fertilized to grow new shoots for next year and get a very large harvest from them. I haven't treated these bushes yet, so I'll make a video about them. I also have a large raspberry patch here with many different varieties. This is my ever-bearing raspberry, which I made a video about in the spring of this year, showing how to prune it correctly to get a very large harvest. It's not early, but it's very large. Here I have regular raspberry growing, non-remontant, which gives 1 harvest per season, but it is earlier and we have already harvested it. It grows here. There is also raspberry, black raspberry. It is thorny but very tasty. At first it grows red like this, then it ripens and turns black. And here I have a variety that I planted this year. I can't actually remember what it's definitely called, but it's very, very large. Just look at the size of this raspberry. It is large and very tasty. It is super sweet. I will write the name of this variety in the comments later. And here I have yellow raspberry growing. We have harvested it all, very tasty. It's called medoc. I also have honeysuckle growing. As you can see, it is on drip irrigation. Some bushes have frozen, but next year I will propagate it and show you how to do it. I will plant it right here. It is very tasty and nutritious. And these are the bushes from which I get the earliest harvest. By May we are already harvesting. I have a few honeysuckle bushes, and over here, this is something I think everyone wants to grow on their plot. This is my blueberry. You see, it hasn't ripened yet, but this year will be the first harvest. The bushes are young. I planted them last year. I have two varieties here. This is one variety. This is another variety. One died last year, something didn't suit it, or maybe there were pests. But I will also propagate it and transplant it over here. I have prepared the holes. Next year in the spring I will demonstrate everything. Here I have a double plane trellis on which I will grow table grapes that need to be covered. Recently I released a video what should be done with it now. Also there were heavy rains. During the day it's hot and at night it's cool. Therefore it's essential to treat the grapevines, because in a few days they will already show signs of mildew spores and there might also be powdery mildew. It's essential to treat the grapevines. Here I have a small plot where I grow different varieties of watermelons. I also have melons growing here, and here are more melons growing. They are just starting to set the harvest. As you can see, this particular little melon indeed grew after the rains. But it will take quite a bit of time, perhaps several weeks or even months, until it fully ripens, and these bushes definitely need to be treated now after the rains to ensure they remain healthy and productive, because they are easily affected by downy mildew. Also I have Agro textile laid out here, and this is where my garden ends and my orchard begins. As you can see, it is quite large and located under a hill. I grow a lot of things: cherries, sour cherries, pears, and apple trees. The apple trees are columnar. This year I talked about how to care for them and how to prune them in great detail, and next year I will continue this video series thoroughly. I also have here a columnar peach, a columnar plum, and a columnar apricot. These are also peaches. Nothing is hurting because I treat everything, and now I will treat all of it again, because again there were very heavy rains and diseases will quickly start affecting my trees, and this year there were spring frosts that already killed the entire crop. Therefore this year I need to preserve the young shoots in order to help the trees grow stronger and more robust and ensure that they become even more vigorous. Therefore I will now put all my efforts into treating them for pests and diseases, as well as fertilizing them as much as possible. Because there is no harvest, it is necessary to grow branches and green mass so that next year these trees can easily withstand the spring frosts. And here I have a lawn growing. Also a video will be coming out on my channel soon. This year I completely forgot about it and didn't mow. I'll show you what happened because of that, and as you can see, this is the result. It's starting to grow back again. It's better not to neglect the lawn. Friends, if you found the information in this video useful, please give it a like. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any new videos. If you have questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I wish you bountiful harvests, great day, and easy work in the garden. See you in new videos. Goodbye.